for the past 3-4 years, something like that. And it's great to see you all here. And a few extraordinary things have happened in the past few months. First of all, today it seems to be winter in London and summer in York, which doesn't always happen, I know. And the second thing is that Mike has gone all digital, and he's tweeting for all his work. And it's extraordinary to think that this time last year, none of that was happening, and Mike is already building up a very increasingly large following on Facebook and Twitter, which is an amazing sign of the times. And Mike's books are now available as e-books, for those of you who have Kindles and the like. And I just wanted to say how fantastic I think it is, the way the partnerships are working between, for example, Mike and Yorkshire Tea, who've done these fantastic banners. And last week at the Yorkshire Show, Mike sold 652 books in 3 days. And I know there are a few people there, I've heard, but that is fantastic. I tell you, there are a few other authors who didn't quite sell that many that week, who were very, very green with jealousy of what was going on in the Yorkshire Tea ban. So that's a great achievement. And I think that, again, with this new book, Mike's come up with even better stories than last time, and I didn't think that that was possible. And I think we've got an even better package this time, thanks to our friends on the railways who supplied us with the pictures. And so I just wanted to say thank you for coming, and if you've got glasses in your hands, please lift them to Just the Job Lad and Mike Pannett. Mike.
Right, first of all, can you hear me at the back? Yes, sounds right at the very back. This is quite immense, actually. I would just like to thank Rupert and Karen Geary travelling up on the train. They've just rushed out from London, because I know they were speaking to them this afternoon, to turn up here tonight to support me. Also, the other key people which are backing me and helping me in spreading the word out of Yorkshire. Yorkshire Tea, absolutely fantastic. I love the brew anyway. So it's a great honour to be tied in with such a reputable company. Friends from Visit York, welcome to Yorkshire. And I noticed Chief Executive was here from Visit York, which is absolutely wonderful and nice to see. So it's a massive thank you. But I've spent all day talking, and some of it's it is quite hard, especially when you sort of wake up and you're on the phone at 7:45 in the morning doing a live sort of interview, and then going off, and I went to my very good friends White Rose Books, which are here, who supported me right from the very beginning of all this journey. And then from there I'm up into Teesside and spending an hour and a half with Radio Tees. And it wasn't just questions about the book. They sold the book, in fact, so well, they blocked the switchboard on the BBC this afternoon in Radio Tees, people trying to find out where to come and buy the books and things like that, which was very humbling. And also, they asked me some really poignant questions about what's been going on in the media. What do you think of the chief, the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police? So it wasn't just fun and games talking about what the content of the book is and the sort of policing side of it, but there was also the very political issues I'm getting asked about as well. I think right from the beginning there was a particular lady, she was called Joan Deitch actually, and she, before the first book came out, is a renowned editor, and she's worked with Linda LaPlante and Martina Cole. She has been in all her life in books, and I sort of sat with Joan Deitch once and had a drink with her and said, well, what do you think of this first book now then, lad? And she said, stick to your guns, Mike, it's a great book. And one day, word of mouth, and believe you me, word of mouth is vital. I think the old saying, if you were to write a book, especially in Yorkshire, and if it's really good, they might tell 7 or 8 people. If it was really bad, they'd tell 50. And she said to me, I'll give you some advice. She says, I think over the years these books will become classic books and will be around for a long time. And I've noticed that the backlist is just maintaining its sales, which is so fantastic. But my real drive was to get the books out of Yorkshire. And I think slowly but surely they are now being recognised as, it doesn't matter where you are in the country, whether you're working in the cities, whether it's in Leeds where we're doing ever so well, Sunderland in the north east, Bradford in West Yorkshire, or even going down to Bristol where they've actually really get it. They've read the books, and I think the key is, and I know there's this north-south divide, they won't have it, but there is. And I just need to break a few barriers down and get them to read the books, and they'll understand. And as you say, to be put across the top of the James Herrington policing by one of the national newspapers is one of the most proudest things you could possibly ever have. So that's wonderful. Also, I would just like to say a couple of little words about a particular person which has been very important in not only my life, when I first came back to Yorkshire from London. Hello, girls. And Connor. I split up with my wife, and I was struggling for somewhere to go and live. And I was driving around, and I didn't want to go back to family and my relation, because I was very busy with work, and for whatever reasons my marriage broke down, and I found myself broke and on my own, if you like. And I remember on duty when I'd first come to Yorkshire, one morning about 5 o'clock in the morning, I was up on the Yorkshire Wolds in the middle of nowhere, and I saw this character coming through right at the top. It was a really misty morning. This guy came along like this, with a flat cap on, and a big beaky nose and ears, and he just looked so much like a Yorkshireman. And I said, are you all right? And he had this dog with him. And he said, hi lad, I'm all right, I've seen you about. My name's John. And I said, nice to meet you. He said, well, you know, I've heard you're around the area. He says, what are you doing yourself? I said, I'm looking for somewhere to live. And he said, I'll tell you what, they ought to come and live with me. I've been burgled 3 times. My outbuilding's been burgled. I don't have a lot left in the house because the burglars have cleared it out, because it was so remote on the Yorkshire Wolds. And this is January, and it was freezing. And he says, let me show you around my place, he said. So I walked in, and he said, you see this here, lad? He says, and it was a 600-litre oil tank. And for people who have oil tanks at home, they're massive. This was a metal, rusty, 600-litre oil tank. And he says, do you know what, lad, I've not had to fill that up in 3 years. Let me show you where you might stay. So we went in, and honestly, there's gas pipes from the 20s, the Arga, which was the hub of the action. The bedroom, he said, there'll have been used duvets, won't there? And I said, well, yeah, I have. You know what? He says, we don't do duvets here, they're sheets. And plenty of them to keep you warm. Because the whole house upstairs had one radiator. Very small, no wonder the oil loss. And when I went to bed, first night, I remember you couldn't lie like this with your feet in the air, because the shape, you had to lie on your side like this. It was incredible, with ice on the inside of the windows. Well, that person I sat round the fire with for quite a long time, discussing things where I'd transferred back from the Metropolitan Police, where I'd been very busy, and I needed to recover from everything that had happened in my life. And he became a very good friend of mine. And we chatted and chatted and chatted, and, you know, years later, this character was to be a very prominent feature. And I get messages, I mean, honestly, at the moment, it's quite incredible, from all over the world, Kentucky, from Australia, from New Zealand, saying, this Walter character, well, he's fantastic. Well, I'd just like to pay respects to him, because if you look on the front of the book, I've dedicated it to John Corner, who sadly, very quickly, passed away earlier in the year. And he was an immense character, an immense person, so I dedicated that book to Walter, who lives on in the books, and will live on to the next book, because all the stories are already planned. So I just wanted to tell you that little story about John. And I think, really, I've yapped on enough. I've talked all day. The last few days, Yorkshire Show, we talked to thousands of people, and a great thanks to White Rose Books for coming along there. Thank you to Waterstones for providing these lovely building, and if I have got some books here, there's quite a lot of books. Anybody who would like one personalising or signing, we can do that. I think that's a sales pitch put through. And I'm about to go on a sort of tour, my usual tour, which means going into dozens and dozens of bookshops. I'm going into Scotland as well, all around when the Edinburgh Festival's. I'm going to visit every single Waterstones in Scotland and Glasgow to introduce myself, because I've got a few followers there. So that's going to be great. It's going to be 7 days a week. I would also like to thank Alan Wilkinson and my wife Anne, who have been absolutely immense in making this happen. Without those two people, the books wouldn't happen, if that makes sense. It is not easy doing books. People might think it is, but it's not. Each book takes about a year. And especially with Anne at the moment, there's all how busy it is when running a family, the Olympic Games, everything else going on. So thank you very much to Anne. Whereabouts are you at the back? Probably nobody knowing that. Yes. Thank you. Alan's in America, whilst I'm doing what I do best, talk about the book and talk about everything else you'd like to talk about. And I would literally, normally when I'm talking, and I've got a lot of people sort of booking me up to talk, because I can talk for hours. Honestly, hours. I went to Cleckheaton the other night, and they said to me, "Oh, there's only 50," and so we twittered it round. It's absolutely fantastic. And all these people turned up, and I sort of stood there and talked non-stop for an hour. And I said, "Has anybody got any questions?" They were like this. I don't, because I was on about London and everything. I don't think they knew what had hit them. I'd also like to thank my friend Rupert here, who's at the front videoing this, because I know that'll go out in the press, which is immense. And they're so supportive. And I will never forget, ever, one day, and I've got 3 messages on here tonight, and I'm immensely proud. Jodie Pickoo has sent me a message, and I took her around my bit of Yorkshire, and she just said, "Good luck tonight," because I twittered, I've learned, at Jodie Pickoo, and she's got about 80,000 followers, so I've twittered, but she sent me a personal message, as did other people, which were world famous, and for that I'm very grateful. We've got a lot to do, and a long way to take the books. My job is to promote it and promote Yorkshire, which is what I love doing, because it's a fantastic place to live and visit. And Grand Central, they're here. I don't know where he's gone. There he is. It's nice that potentially Grand Central we're going to be working with, and quite rightly so, because they need a bit of education down in London of where to go when they come up here. And they're hauling people up into our Yorkshire, into York and into Bradford. But this is all about, there's a lot of things involved in spreading the word. So that's very nice too. I think that'll do for now. I brought everybody a box of Yorkshire tea, which is fantastic, because if you look on there, there's the book that came out in April is branded onto the boxes as well. And when you open it, there's no getting away from it. There's me drinking a cup of tea saying, "Meet our friend Mike and enjoy a good book and a brew." So that I'm really it's just fantastic, isn't it? Really, come on. So thank you very much for coming tonight. There's a few people that couldn't come as well, and they're due to arrive a little bit later because of one reason or another. But thank you so much for coming. And hopefully have a drink. I know you maybe go off for a drink afterwards, but thank you again, and thank you for coming. Thank you. And I think next time we do one of these, we'll have to have a band or something to really, land it up these. Definitely. As we get bigger, I think we'll have a bit of a disco going on afterwards. Right. Good on you.